and welcome back to Brandywine Stitches. Today is Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024, and it's probably going to be a short progress video again. I've been down a deep rabbit hole of other projects and other things, so I have not been having a lot of time to cross-stitch. I haven't been giving myself a lot of time to cross-stitch. I think my stitchy bug went on vacation for a little bit since I'm also down this rabbit hole. I think it didn't want to go down the rabbit hole with me, which is fair. I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole either, but here I am, ADHD, dragging me down. But I do have progress on things, not just cross-stitch. I have some progress, so one cross-stitch. So I guess we'll start with that. So I did eventually complete my WIPGO goals for the rose drawing. I'll pop that picture up here so you guys can see what that's going to look like. So it's blurred out, but if you've seen the movie Titanic, we know what it looks like. Just social media's got to be careful. So that's what it's going to look like. My goal was to do 500 stitches, and I did 580 stitches, and I got it to 1.83%, which is amazing. That's a lot of progress. So if I open it up here, I'm trying to fold it around so you guys can see it. Hold on. This is where we are. So you can see, didn't get too much more, mostly just added in another couple squares. I think I just added on this square here to get me to the 500 that I needed. So now we can see her hands in above her head, and this is the bit of her hair. So I like doing the diagonal parking method, so we'll just keep going down this way, and eventually we'll get to see her face. But she's gotten her 500 stitches. She's looking so good. I'm so excited. But she has to get put away for a little bit so that I can complete my other WIPGO goal, which is for Goddess of the Tides. So the way I had my board set up, completing the 500 stitches on the rose drawing actually gave me a bingo. I am doing small rewards for my bingos, like a $15 reward, so I might like get myself lunch one day at work, or I might get myself like a Starbucks iced tea latte, something small like that. Or something else. I don't know. My goal is to have the board blacked out by the end of the year. So that means I have to get Goddess of the Tides done in the next week. And I think she only needs 400 stitches. So that should be theoretically easier. I just have to drag my stitchy bug back and force her to stay with me for a little bit. At least a little bit so I can get that 400 stitches done. I haven't even touched the Storybook sale this month, which I was really hoping I could keep up on that one. I probably just need to batten down my self-control so that way I can get my stitching done, but also kind of still travel down this rabbit hole. It's just I found a lot of really beautiful images that are AI generated, and I'm like, I want these for backgrounds for my computer, my iPad, my iPhone. Also, some of them I might eventually turn into cross-stitch patterns for me, but I know I have a couple hundred patterns that I already need to do, so I'm mostly just saving all of the images that I like, so that way I can use them for backgrounds, and then I'll sort them out later on, do I want it to be a cross stitch? Do I want it to be a background? Do I want it to be both? So yeah, Pinterest is terrible for some things because it just digs you down that rabbit hole, which I need to stop. But I'm close. I feel like I'm almost to the end of the rabbit hole, and then I should be good, but I just need to have self-control to get back on track to where I need to be to complete my monthly goals. So my kids are with my mom today. I almost said my grandmother. The kids are with their grandmother, my mom, today for a little bit. So I'm probably going to take that time to, I should do some stitching, but I also want to do some organizing because one of my craft closet where I keep all of my yarn, my stitching, all of my candle making stuff, it's a disaster right now. So we'll see what I need to do, but I will at some point today do some stitching on the Goddess of the Tides now that the rose drawing is done. So that's the only cross stitching I got done for this last 2 weeks. The other thing I did was I ended up completing the Leafeon square for the Eeveelution blanket. But I can't math, apparently, which I'm learning is kind of a common thing among cross stitchers, is we can't count past 10. So you can find this. Someone posted it on DeviantArt, and they just said, hey, I took these images that were the original art by, I forget his name, and I put them into, I forget it, there's one of the image pixel generators for cross-stitch, knitting, crochet, to make, it's a graph generator for all of those. So I did the same thing. I downloaded all the images, I put them through this same exact generator that he said he did, and then I got to stitching. And I first started it, and when I was starting on Leafeon's feet, I realized that I didn't have it wide enough to match everybody else. Because Leafeon, if you notice, is quite small on that block compared to Eevee or Umbreon. So Leafeon's a little small there, so from the beginning, I did make sure that all of my squares were going to be the same width. What I didn't think about was height. So I ended up completing all of the graph charting for Leafeon, and as soon as I got done with it, I'm like, I ran out of yarn. So I had to go to Joann's and get more yarn anyways. And if I hold it up here, you can see that I just finished, let me take this down. Maybe that'll be easier so you guys can actually see. So if you look here, I have the graph done, and I just have like 2 or 3 rows above the tip of her tail. And I ran out of yarn. You can see there's the last bit of my yarn. It's a tail. I ran out. So I'm sitting playing cards with my husband and his grandparents one day, and I'm realizing I didn't math for their height to line up. And Leafeon's only 64 rows tall. That picture that I found online on DeviantArt, they did this years ago before Sylveon was introduced. So my thought was, let's do all the evolutions. Let's do Sylveon. Well, Sylveon with all of her ribbons is like 74 or some crazy number high. Like I would have to add on like 8 to 10 rows to the top and bottom of Leafeon to be able to have the full square line up with Sylveon to make sure they're all the same. Sorry, my phone keeps dinging. I just need to make sure that it's not an emergency with my kids. Doesn't look like it. It'll wait for a minute. So, sorry if you can hear it. It's just a notification reminder. So I sat there and I mathed this out. And I'm like, I can't math. Like, I'm missing something here. And so I'm like, I'm going to sit down with one of my friends who does crochet. And, like, we're going to math this together. Because, like, where I'm sitting with Leafeon, I'm like, I don't know how to add rows to the bottom. I'm going to have to rip the entire thing out to add rows to the bottom before I even know. Like, I have to figure out how many rows tall this whole thing needs to be, and then I have to figure out how many rows do I put on the bottom before I can actually figure out what I gotta do. Like, can I add stitches to the single crochet chains rows to the bottom of it already done and it's gonna look good? Like, do I have to rip it all out? So that's what I've been, like, trying to figure out with Leafeon, and I'm, like, frustrated, and I kind of put it in a timeout, and I'm like, I'll deal with it when I get to it. But I had to go to Joann's regardless so that I could get yarn for the Jurassic Park blanket that I'm making for my friend that I mentioned last week, because that's going to use a lot of black and a fair bit of white as well. So I had to go get those giant skeins of those, and I'm like, well, I'm here. Let me get another skein of this pale green so that way I can at least finish Leafeon and get, you know, the top done, figure out how I can do the bottom. Well, while I was there, I found like 3 different colors green, and I was like, I think this one is the green, but then these 2 other greens look real nice, and I'm like, So as I was texting my friend, we came to the conclusion that I'm gonna rip Leafeon entirely out, and we're gonna restart. But instead of doing this green, which is a nice olivey lettuce, I think the color was called lettuce. I don't remember, but it's like a nice like pale green. It doesn't look bad, but it is also light, and it kind of blends in with some of the stitching for Leafeon, like especially here around the edge of the ear. So instead, I'm going to switch to this one. This is called Light Sage. So this is getting a little washed out in the light. I've got lights shining right overhead. Oh, yeah, right there in the shadow. This is pretty close. This is washed out. This is pretty close. So if you can imagine that with the tan, it's going to look a lot nicer, I think. And then obviously I'll be able to just start over, get my rows, my width and height correct, so that way they're matching all the way around. I might end up just regenerating the images through various different pattern things, so that way I can make sure that they're all similar in size to each other. All of the charts are going to have the same count, so row and stitch count across, like height and width. And I might restart it a different way. So this was the only way I knew how to do a blanket, was just single crochet or even double crochet, but just a basic stitch across. Well, when I was starting the Jurassic Park blanket, the pattern says you can do it any way you want. You can do it single crochet, you can go double crochet, you can do corner to corner, or C2C as a lot of people call it. And I've never done C2C, so I was like, I'm kind of interested. I've had a couple of patterns saved for blankets that I thought my kids might like, that I was like, maybe I'll do corner to corner with them, because they're like designed specifically for corner to corner. And I was like, maybe eventually I'll get to it and I'll learn how to do corner to corner, because they look really cool, and it crochets up the same way that I do my stitching. It's diagonal, which is exactly, that's my thing, apparently. So I was looking at the different, they actually showed on the website for where I got the Jurassic Park pattern, the Psychedelic Doilies. It actually shows you the different options with other color charts or color graphgans. The differences between doing a single crochet, a double crochet, and a corner to corner. And as I'm looking at these, I'm going, oh, the corner to corner is so crisp. It looks so nice. It looks just thick and warm, and it looks pristine. I'm like, for a gift for somebody, I want corner to corner. So I was testing it out a little bit. I have gotten to this point. So let me show you where we're at. Let me pull up the picture. So this is what it's gonna look like, and you can see here on the bottom it says Ian's phrase, life finds a way. So that's where we're starting. This is our Y, and this will be the start of our A. I'm getting backwards, so bear with me. So this is our Y, and this is the start of our A, and this is actually this is a mini corner to corner, so I'm doing it in half doubles instead of doubles, and it's coming together really, really nice. I did have to restart it a couple of times because I was trying to figure out, do I carry the yarn through each diagonal row? That's what I would have done. That's kind of what I did with Leafeon, to be honest, is I just carried the yarn where possible, but you could really see it. You could see the black through the white, even though I was trying really hard to hide it. So I had to take it out, and I actually ended up having to rip the whole thing out to restart it because I got my numbers wrong and I miscounted. And then now we're doing in individual blocks with the color, and it's looking really, really nice. So this has been also kind of where my stitchy bug went, is she turned into the crochet bug, and I'm like, I really want to crochet. I want to get it done because I'm so excited to do this. So we're probably gonna make sure we're stitching on this a little bit more so that way we can get it done. My friend doesn't care when she gets the blanket, just as long as she gets it, because she thinks it's great. But I'm like, I gotta have it done by February, so I've got a time limit. I have to get it done. So I had a lot of work to do, but with the corner to corner, it's actually working up really, really quickly, which is nice. So now I think I want to do corner to corner with the Eeveelution blanket because it looks crisp and it looks nice, and that means I have to redo my entire charts for the Pokemon anyways, because this is only 12 rows, 11 rows, something like that. Like, compared to Leafeon, this is basically this little square, and it's the same hook. So this little 2x2 inch square on Leafeon would turn out to be this 5x5 giant. So I really probably should resize them, because if I do the corner to corner, even the mini corner to corner, on the graphs that I have currently for the Pokemon, this is going to be ginormous. And it's going to be probably a king size blanket, to be honest. And I don't know if I want to work on a blanket that big. I did. I worked on a queen size knit blanket, and it took me years to finish. It took me probably 6 or 7 years to finish it. It was a Graphgan. So there was cabling, because it was knit. It was cabling. There was color changing, and then I worked it in 3 sections, and I had to seam the whole thing together and then block it. And it was a Game of Thrones blanket of all the house sigils, and eventually I was supposed to go back in and embroider the phrases. So like Winterfell is Winterfell is winter is coming, or the Stark family, winter is coming. So like that's what I would have had to embroider in there was little boxes underneath each sigil to embroider, and I eventually was like, I've worked on this blanket for 6+ years. I'm done. I don't care if it doesn't have the embroidery on it. Now that I know how to cross stitch, I might go back and embroider it. But at the moment, that can be done much, much later. So yeah, that's where my my stitchy bug has been lately. We've had D&D again recently, so I was finally able to get back to working on Titanic. I got 2 more not sections. So it comes in 3 boxes, and each box has like 20 bags or something like that. I've finally moved on to, I got 2 more bags done for the Titanic, which ended up equaling the sides of the ship. So if I pull her up, Kitty just jumped in my lap. So if I pull it up here, you can see I've got the sides of the ship, and this is actually the part where the ship starts to narrow down into the back of the stern. So you can kind of see we had to shift it around. There, you can see how it narrows down. So that was what we did. We did the panels on the side of the ship. We're supposed to have D&D again this week, so I'll do another bag or 2, which should be another like layer and adding more on to the. I think it would be starting the superstructure. I don't remember. I know the superstructure is not included. It sits on top of the main frame. So I'm not sure if this would be the superstructure in the white, or if it would be above it with the superstructure. I don't know exactly where the superstructure is. So, but we're going to be continuing to work up for this one. I think this one gets funnel 4. So eventually we'll work on funnel 4. So that's part of Titanic. So I think I've only got like 11 or 15 bags of bricks to go, which doesn't seem like a lot, but each bag takes me like close to an hour. So got a little bit of ways to go, but I can get her done. we're from what I hear, there's going to be a lot of summer vacations between the D&D group. So I was trying to think of the right word, because it's not truly vacations, but there's going to be a lot of times where people aren't home. So we won't be doing D&D for quite a few weeks. So I may just pick it up and work on it a little bit, even if we're not having D&D that week. Or I may just take that opportunity to catch up on my other stitching. Goddess of the Tides, Storybook, maybe working on Jurassic Park, things like that. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling, because I usually work Fridays. I'm coming home. I'm tired. So we'll see what I want to do once I get home if we have no D&D. But we also, the last little bit of crafting that I did, I was working on my Supernatural car again. And I didn't get a whole lot more progress done on it. So if you see, last time we had the rear differential on, the anti-sway bar, all of that. This time I was working on the front. So we have all of our anti-sway bars, our upper lower arm controls for the tires, things like that. I had to take a break because there's these little pieces, and I'm trying to remember. No, I had this done. So I was working all back here. So we have a rear differential here. And then, sorry, it's really hard to see. So, like, there's an anti-sway bar down here. There's, I don't know the name of all these. I don't have the booklet with me that tells me the name. But if you're a car person, you should probably know what I'm talking. You probably can see what I'm talking about. So, it's got all of those little tiny, tiny pieces on there. Trying to flip around so you can see. I had to take a break for a hot minute because you can see here this little piece that goes diagonal. And there's one over here that goes diagonal. Instructions not clear. It just said put somewhere, and I'm like, where the heck is this supposed to go? I was super confused, but I had to put it on pause for a minute until I had breakfast with my dad, because we have breakfast every Sunday. And I had to ask him to help me figure out where it's supposed to go. So he showed me that they connect to the anti-sway bar down here, and then to the actual chassis up here, and that kind of helps to keep everything, like, secure, so that it's not moving around. So, or no, I'm sorry, it connects to the chassis down here, and then to the rear diff up here. So, connects to the rear differential. So that's what I got done. And then I was like, okay, cool. So next we'll go they call it the floor pan. That's going to be where the flat bottom of the car, where then you build the interior on top of, like, your seats and everything. And I was like, okay, cool. So put the flat pan on, but then if you can see, these aren't painted, and these would get covered with the pan. And there's a couple other pieces in here that haven't been painted. I was like, all right, let me paint them before I put the pan on. Grab all my paint, start looking through it. I've got my paint thinner, I've got my paintbrush, and where's my black paint? Mind you, we're listening to a Harry Potter chapter so we can do a podcast on it. And I'm trying to pay attention to the chapter because it's been so long since I've read The Sorcerer's Stone that I couldn't remember the specific details, and I was like, I need to listen to this so that way I can actually have something to contribute to the podcast. But where is this paint? I just had it a week ago because I painted parts of this. Can't find it anywhere. I still can't find it. It's been almost a week. I can't find this paint anywhere. So she's on pause right now until I can find this freaking paint, or break down and buy a new bottle of it, or steal my dad's because he has it too. He just isn't working on his metal cars. So, Supernatural, baby, you're on pause because I can't find the paint. And I'm so upset because I had everything together. So we sit at this table, and actually I sit right there in that little brown chair. So if I turn actually this way, there, I sit in this chair. I had everything sitting on this table because my kids weren't down here. They did in between because they made a blanket for it, but I moved it. They weren't getting into it. They know better than to touch our stuff. If they're down in the basement, they're usually sitting on the couches on the other side of the computers where I'm sitting, so I'm facing the couch. So that's where they watch TV. Or they're off in our playroom playing, if they're even down here. They don't mess with stuff on the table because they know that that's not theirs. So I personally moved all of my baby model car back up to the counter there behind Titanic so that it was out of reach. I have no idea. No idea where the paint went. I've got every other color. You can actually see them. They're lined up right there at the bow of the Titanic. Got every other color that came in the set. Not black. No idea where black went. So now I have to tear apart my entire basement to try and find it because I'm pretty sure I didn't take it upstairs. But I've also cleaned my kitchen like 4 times since I brought this upstairs to show my dad for help. And I'm pretty sure I didn't take the paint up there with me. I don't know where it's at. So now I gotta tear everything apart to try and find it. So Supernatural is going on pause for now. So when we're doing our podcast, until I find the paint, I'm either going to be working on the Jurassic Park blanket or I'll pull out Storybook Sal and keep working on that. Because I can't do my model car and get that done. I was really hoping I could have it done by August. It's not getting done by the end of August unless I find that paint and bust butt on it. And I'm kind of mad. This is what ADHD does to me. I can't find anything. But now it's in the top of my brain. I'm like, I gotta tear apart my house and I gotta try and find this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to live like this, guys. So, yeah, that's my life. That's what I've got updated recently. So, we're going to get Goddess of the Tides done. I have 1 week to get it done. Going to get it done. Otherwise, if I don't get it done in July, I forfeit my blackout reward, which could be starting a giant project, potentially. It's a big... I haven't decided, but when I started WIPGO, I was talking with my husband. I was like, hey, look, it looks like a bunch of people do like little mini rewards for bingos or whatever. So I was like, what do you think is fair? Because I didn't want to decide for myself and then like, oh, I'm going to start this huge giant project at the end of it. Or I'm going to go out and buy dinner for, I don't know, like spend a ridiculous exorbitant amount of money. So I wanted his input on it. And so we kind of jointly together decided, okay, well, $10 to $15 for each bingo, because you can get like, what, 15 bingos or something? I haven't done math, but you can do quite a few bingos in a bingo board. So every which way you can get a bingo counts. And then he's like, if you can get a blackout board, we'll like do, buy yourself something bigger. And I was like, okay, but I'll make the stipulation that I have to complete the WIPGO call in the month it's called to qualify for the blackout reward. And he's like, okay. And thus far I've done great. I've finished every single WIPGO call in the month they're called. Goddess of the Tides, if I don't get her done in a week, I forfeit the blackout reward. Like I said, we don't know the amount. I could be buying myself an Apple Watch. I could be starting the Epic Pokemon because maybe I'll buy the fabric for the Epic Pokemon, which would be quite a big chunk of money because that's a huge, huge section of fabric. Maybe I'll get myself a couple new video games or something big like that. But I have to get Goddess of the Tides done in the next week. So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm torn between stitching to get my goals done, crocheting to keep that dopamine going, or organizing and deep cleaning my house while my kids are gone to try and find missing things. So, it's been fun. ADHD is great. So, on that note, I am going to go figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my day while my kids are gone. And we're going to get Goddess of the Tides done the next time I see you guys. So, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. We'll have our August WIPGO calls because we're getting those in 2 days. So we'll get that done, and we'll see what other progress I get done in 2 weeks. Fingers crossed I can get quite a bit of progress done and get my stitchy bug back. But that is all I've got for right now. So if you like hearing my rambles and my minimal progress every 2 weeks, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, notification, all that jazz, so you can stay notified when I do post new videos. We do try to do it every 2 weeks. as much as having kids and a full-time job will allow. So, new video. Until next time, keep stitching, and this has been Brandywine Stitches.